Okay, so welcome to another episode in the Cushman Restoration Project. If you'll take a look, and if you've been paying attention to the mail call that I recently had, we got a new gas cap. Now the gas cap is made out of metal, but it comes with this brown, I'm guessing, primer on it. So we're just gonna get this a nice silver color. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take the gasket out of the bottom, right? So that we don't get paint all over the gasket and the gasket still functions as a gasket. Now, smooth side goes towards the lip of the gas tank, rough side goes towards the cap. Just something to remember. Okay, so first thing we need to do is make sure we have a clean surface for the paint to adhere to. Now, this isn't a particularly glossy surface, so normally we would sand a little to prep, but this is a pretty coarse surface. So I'm not too worried about the paint having a place to adhere. So we're just going to take a little alcohol wipe here and just clean off any grease, oil, anything that may be on there from the manufacturing process. Okay. Now, I've got that good and ready to go. Give it a quick dry with a cloth just to get the alcohol residue off. Now, because it's a gravity-fed gas tank, there's a hole in the gas cap that allows air into the gas tank. You do not want to plug that up. So what I've done is I've broken off a toothpick to use in that hole to ensure it does not get filled with paint. I think this one might be a little bit better. So it doesn't get filled with paint. There we go. Yep, that one right there. See? So now it's in there and it's not going to get filled with paint. So the first thing we're going to do is do a quick light blast with primer. Just want to make sure the can's good and clear. It's a brand new can of primer. So we're just going to do a quick blast of primer, and then we're going to let it dry for about 5 minutes before we come back and do another pass. Okay, so it's been about 5 minutes, so we're just going to come back and do a little bit of a heavier coat of this primer. Now, because of the ridges on the side of the gas cap that kind of give your fingers a grip, it's you don't want to put on too thick of a coat where it fills in those grooves. And because watching paint dry isn't a whole lot of fun, we'll cut to the next step. Okay, so now that our primer is dry, and I've done probably 2 to 3, actually probably 3 to 4 coats. So now that the primer's dry, now we got to get set up for color. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take a little bit of blue tack, which I have here, and we're just going to water it up. We're going to put it on these little points here. The reason I'm doing this is so that I can get it up off the ground for the next coat of paint. So now I've got it up on this little wooden block, just a little piece of scrap wood that I had laying around. So now that we have that, now it's time to paint it. We're going to paint it a nice silver color. And I'm using Duplicolor engine ceramic. So that way, engine enamel with ceramic. So that way, the reason I'm using the engine paint is because I want to make sure that this is going to be as impervious to gas and other motor fluids. Plus, I need to know that it's going to handle the heat, even though where the gas tank's located, it's not really subject to that much heat. So let's just kind of put it, again, just like we did with the primer, we're just going to do a quick blast and we're going to let that dry up for about 5 minutes, and then we're going to go back and do another blast. Now that initial coat is dry, we're going to go back and do a full coat. The nice thing about putting it on paper like this is you can just turn it around. And again, the reason we put it on the blocks is just to keep it up off the paper so that we can hit the sides much easier. And there we go. And now we let that dry. And we'll hit it a few more coats. Okay, so we put several coats of silver on there, probably 3 to 4 coats. Now, as you can tell, it's got a little bit of a dull finish. I do not want it to be as glossy as, say, like a mirror finish, but I do want it to have some gloss to it. So we're just going to hit it with a little bit of this gloss clear. To get a mirror finish, there's a lot of sanding and stuff involved, and obviously we're going to get into that when we start working on some of the body panels, like that fender. But right now, we don't necessarily need a mirror finish on a gas cap. What we want is it to be a little bit glossy and take that really thin metal and make it look a little bit more robust. And by doing a little bit of a gloss coat, I think that's going to work. So, again, just like we did before, thin, even strokes, let it dry, and then come back at it. I'm going to let that dry for a few minutes, and then I'll go back, and then we'll do several more coats, and then we'll see how it looks when it's done. And there we go. If you wanted to do a mirror finish, you could. You would just need to wet sand this down with some 2000 grit sandpaper, and then go back after it with a good rubbing compound, polishing compound, to get the scratches out from the sandpaper. But you know, for me, I kind of like it to not be super shiny, just for the sake of the fact that it's a gas cap, and I don't need it to be that shiny. So when we compare it to the original gas cap, you can see the difference. It's a little thinner, but also, more importantly, is it looks much, much nicer. And if you look at the back of the old gas cap, you can see that that gasket was shot. So now we have a nice, fully functioning gas cap to put on our scooter. So let's try it on for size, shall we? Yep, and there we go. A wonderful looking gas cap on a scooter that still needs a lot more work. But that's okay, because we're going to get through all of it as we go on.